How's it going, wrestling fans? Welcome to the Wrestle Rave channel. My name is Jared, and thank you so much for taking the time to stop by the channel. I do appreciate it. This first video on the channel is actually a long time in the making. I've wanted to do a wrestling channel for about a year now, but I just kept making up excuses and having self-doubts that I never followed through with actually doing it. Stuff like, oh, I don't have the right personality, I don't have the setup, I don't have the editing skills, I just can't do it. But we're finally throwing those doubts, throwing those excuses to the side, and we're going for this. So last night, TNA, or Impact Wrestling, presented Slammiversary, and what a actually fantastic show it was. I haven't watched Impact Wrestling too much in the past month and a half, but this show's going to change that. So the night started with a fatal four-way match with TJP, Trey Miguel from the Rascals, Jake Christ from OVE, and Willie Mack. And what a solid opening match. Bell-to-bell excitement. Each competitor got to show their strengths. TJP locked in several submissions. Trey Miguel flipping all over the place. Jake Christ got to show how well-rounded he is. Some strong kicks, athleticism, even some strength, catching Willie Mack for a Samoan drop. If you don't know, Willie Mack is a large man, but he moves around like a cruiserweight. And I'm not just saying that. He really does. He kept up with everybody else's athleticism. Very impressed by him. So the match itself really was exciting start to finish. And we had some cool spots as well with all four competitors involved. We had TJP had Jake Christ in an Indian Deathlock standing up, and Willie Mack comes in, gets in a DDT setup, but TJP can't get him down until Trey Miguel sprints across the ring and just hits a running / diving neck breaker on TJP that of course results in the DDT on Willie Mack and the leg snapping of Jake Christ as well. And we had another spot where TJP had Trey in a Romero special or surfboard stretch over the top of him, and Jake Christ snuck in and tried to get the pin on TJP while he was holding that submission, and then Willie Mack came off the top, double foot stomp to Trey Miguel, who fell on Jake Christ, who then had the pin broken up at 2. So really cool spot there. And the match ended when Christ hit a top rope cutter on Trey, I believe. And Willie Mack was waiting in the wings as Jake Christ was trying to sit up. He nailed a big frog splash, getting the pin. And again, really solid opening match. Exciting, and I give it a 7 out of 10. What a good way to open the show. We then jumped into a video showing the North winning the tag team championship from LAX last week, and that was followed up by a solid promo from Ethan Page. He surprised me. He's actually not too bad on the mic. Hopefully we get to see more of that. Then we get into the triple threat match, tag team match. I guess it was Tornado Rules because there were no tags. But between LAX, the other two members of the Rascals, and the North. And this match is a little tough because Santana not over halfway through, towards the end of the match, he suffered an injury when he was pushed off the top rope. And you could even hear him say, "My leg, my knee," as he crawled across the ramp. So Conan ended up calling for the doctors. He threw up the X and everything. So I think the match was cut short, or at least altered, as a result of that injury, which is a shame because it was a really good match until that happened, and who knows how good it could have been. But all we can do is rate what we have. The North did end up picking up the win after stealing the pin from the Rascals, who hit their little moonsault push move, whatever you call it. And then the North ended up stealing that pin. So I'd give it a 5.5 out of 10, with the expectation that it would have been better. Of course, everybody would have been better if Santana hadn't gone down with that injury, so hopefully he has a speedy recovery. But after that match, we went into Sami Callihan in a black and white selfie promo where he talked about his match with Tessa Blanchard. Always good to see him. He is, without a doubt, one of the most entertaining wrestlers today, at least to me. And he said it will be the first intergender pay-per-view main event on U.S. soil, I believe is what he said. So that's pretty interesting. After that promo, though, we had a recap of the Killer Kross and Eddie Edwards rivalry, which is setting up our first blood match. And I'd missed most of this rivalry, so it looks like a pretty intense build to this match. Now, I'm not really a big fan of first blood matches. Pretty much any time I hear there's going to be a first blood match, my first reaction is to roll my eyes because I'm not too crazy about the concept and most of the time the execution of the matches. But this one actually was pretty good. It was brutal. Eddie Edwards took a lot of rough bumps at first, including getting two-handed choke slammed on the edge of the ring apron. His shoulder blades basically hit the very edge, the corner angle of the ring apron. That looked rough. He took a chair thrown to the head. He got gut wrench suplex from the apron to the ground on top of the chair. So some rough bumps at first. But he came back in the match, pulled back even with Kross in offense, and the end of the match came when Eddie hit a flurry of offense, and then he took his best friend, his trusty kendo stick named Kenny. I think it was Kenny 2.0 because Killer Kross had destroyed the original Kenny during the rivalry. But he took that new Kenny and split it in half and used that split end and just kind of jammed it down Killer Kross's throat, which sounds terrible. Didn't look as terrible as it sounds because they kind of shielded it. But if you just think about what was supposed to happen, it's awful. But I was pretty entertained during that match, I gotta say. I'm usually not too into first blood matches, but this one kept my attention. So I would give it a 6.5 out of 10. Pretty solid match. We then go into Tessa Blanchard being approached by the interviewer, and I cannot remember his name, but she basically just lifted him up by the shirt and shoved him against the wall, which, I mean, I'm pretty sure he liked it. But we then moved to RVD being interviewed in the back, and, you know, let's just say he seemed a little off. Let's just leave it at that. But then a video recapping the Moose RVD rivalry led us straight into the match. And it was a pretty decent match. It wasn't great, but it wasn't terrible either. RVD, you can tell he's lost a little bit over time, but honestly, he still looks pretty dang good in the ring, I gotta say. He kept up pretty well. He looked like he knew what he was doing, so good for him. He, of course, got a You Still Got It match, and I think they were dual chanting You Still Got It, Never Lost It or something, which is true. He still looks really good. And Moose was very surprising as well. I didn't know he could perform that well in the ring and was that athletic. I mean, he used to be an offensive lineman in the National Football League, so he's like 300 pounds or something, and he's he's hitting standing drop kicks on the top turnbuckle to the opponent's head, so he's getting up there. But anyway, the match was pretty even. They both got a good amount of offense in and controlled portions of the match. But near the end, Moose just went full heel, hid behind the ref, low blowed Rob Van Dam, went to get a chair, and of course, naturally, he ate a Van Daminator as soon as he had the chance to. And then a drop toe hold, Moose hits the chair again. RVD goes up for a 5-star frog splash and misses, landing right on the chair, of course. And Then Moose hits the spear for the win. So, like I said, pretty good match. Nothing spectacular, but, solid performance from both. I would give it a good 5 out of 10 there. Up next, we had a backstage interview with Taya Valkyrie about the Monsters Ball Knockouts Championship match. Fatal 4-Way with Su Yung, Rosemary, and Havoc. So we jump right into the match, and holy smokes, guys, this one just got crazy. All 4 women were fantastic in the match. They all did well. But what was so notable to me is just how brutal and aggressive all of them were. You didn't expect to see that, really. But, I mean, some probably did. I didn't. But maybe that's because I haven't really paid enough attention to Impact lately. But there were weapons everywhere, chairs, tables, tacks, broken tables at that, staple guns, just all kinds of violence. At one point, Taya even stomped, I think it was Rosemary, she stomped her face into the thumbtacks, which looked pretty sick. So everybody got a good bit of offense in. The finish saw Taya hit a side effect from the apron through a table on the outside, and I believe that was on Rosemary as well. While in the ring, Havoc hit wait for it, a middle rope tombstone pile driver on the thumbtacks, and it was as brutal as it sounds. But she hit that move and went for the pin, and Taya out of nowhere thought she was out of the match at this point, but she runs in, steals the pin from Havoc, and retains her championship. So, man, you got to applaud the effort that they all put in. But I would give that an easy 6 out of 10. And then we went right into a video package highlighting the Rich Swann versus Johnny Impact match for the X Division Championship. And pretty much every match had a pre-match interview. Sometimes it was with both competitors or multiple competitors, and sometimes it was just with one. This had both. It started with Rich Swann, and ended, for that matter, but started with Rich Swann. And you know what? I actually like him. He's pretty good on the mic, I'd say. He's entertaining. He's got some charisma, so hopefully we get to see more of that as well. Johnny Impact, not so much, but he's definitely far and away better than he used to be, on the mic anyway. He's phenomenal in the ring, but definitely much improved on the mic. But after that, we go into the match, and I gotta say, I do like the X Division title design right now. The last I remember, it was the gigantic X on the championship belt, so I do like this design. But this match was just fantastic. These two just so smooth, so clean in the ring. Non-stop action. I think it was a 15-minute match, and it never had any lulls in action. It was always back and forth. Just a very clean, very sharp match as well. Then they played off each other very well, and they never got tired. They just never got tired. They kept going. But after 15 minutes of back and forth, action-packed action. Can I say that? The finish came when Swann won cleanly, following a flurry of hard-hitting kicks, 2 rebound cutters, and he topped it off with a Phoenix Splash. Just an all-around great, highly entertaining match, an easy 8 out of 10 on that one for me. Then we had the Impact Championship match, Impact World Heavyweight Championship, I believe is what it's called now, between Michael Elgin and Brian Cage. So Elgin gave a promo before a video package, and again, another solid promo. Very pleased by how he did during that. And this match, much in the same way as the X Division title match, this one was a non-stop, maybe a few rest breaks, but not very long. But pretty much a non-stop beast brawl. Now, the difference between this and the X Division match is this one had such a mixture of X Division type moves and power moves. I mean, we saw 619, we saw Brian Cage completely jump over and do basically a front flip over the top rope onto Elgin onto the floor and land on his feet and not even stumble or anything. And we saw the Canadian Destroyer at one point from Elgin, just technical wrestling, finesse, yet so much power as well. The things these two can do with their size is just amazing and keeps you guessing what's going to happen in the match. And they seem to really work together well too. But the finish came when Brian Cage actually did a little drop down for a pin, much like British Bulldog at SummerSlam 92. Dropped down, got the pin after some offensive trading that they had. But a phenomenal match, really. Definitely match of the night so far. I'd give it an easy 8.5, 8.5 rating there. So then we get to the recap of Tessa Blanchard and Sami Callihan rivalry before jumping into that match. And this is something completely new. When I last watched wrestling, Tessa was a heel, the biggest women's division heel. She was facing Gail Kim a month or two ago. So to see her now a face facing Sami Callihan, who's probably my favorite heel in the entire industry right now, just was a little surprising, but I was pretty excited about it. So they both entered with their own bat, which will be important later. And the match started with just a stare down, as if they were soaking in the crowd, soaking in the importance of the moment, and then they just started trading shots. Callahan basically had the entire crowd eating out of the palm of his hand during the match, and the crowd was 100% behind Tessa the entire match as well. But Callahan had control for most of the match, or at least a good portion of it, hitting some hard spots as well, including swinging Tessa from one side to the other, just hitting her against the guardrail. That looked pretty rough there. But Tessa did manage to get some flurries of offense in, and they worked together very well. After a couple of ref bumps, the end came when Sami gets the pin after a couple of pile drivers. It was kind of weird. He hit like a package tombstone pile driver, and then that didn't do it. And then Tessa got up and gave him a thumbs up, thumbs down, and then he just gave her a regular pile driver, and that was it. So it's kind of an anticlimactic finish. I have not been paying enough attention to know if that's, a way he typically ends matches. I usually just see a lot of his promo work. I don't see just a ton of his matches. But he's everywhere doing promo work and backstage segments. But anyway, maybe that's one of his finishers. I can't say for sure, but it did seem like an odd ending, and it seemed like an abrupt ending as well, and it kind of sucked the life out of the crowd. But it made sense, and Tessa's performance during the match, Sami's treatment of her during the match, as well as her resiliency, and the fact that she lost as well, just really puts her over in a weird way. It really turned her into a star to the crowd, I believe. But Sami finally gets a good win, and even though the end was a bit anticlimactic, I would still give this match an easy 7.5. Really entertaining, really well done, and great performances from both of them. So look forward to just hit something on my desk here. Look forward to seeing how they move forward after that match. Oh, and after the match, Sami brought both bats into the ring. This is why that was important. Now, they were used during the match, during the ref bumps, but it wasn't either here nor there. But Sami brought both bats into the ring, and it looked like he was just gonna pummel Tessa with both of them, but he ended up handing Tessa her bat and just leaving the ring. And I think that sign of respect put Tessa over even further and made her an even bigger star. But that is Slammiversary. If I can say it right, that is it for Slammiversary. And I gotta say, I quite enjoyed the show, even though I can't say the name correctly. There were rarely any lulls in action, or even any lulls in entertainment. I wasn't bored at any point, and they managed to put together a card that had a little bit of everything without going over the top in anything. So that was a nice balance. There were some spots, the Tombstone Pile Driver onto the Tax. That was almost a bit much, but I think they reeled it in just enough. The match of the night for me was definitely Cage versus Elgin, with Swan versus Johnny Impact a close second, and Tessa versus Callahan a close third as well. All of those just so good. Overall, I'd have to give the show an 8 out of 10. Just really well done from Impact Wrestling. It was solid from top to bottom, highly enjoyable, and I have no complaints. But that'll do it for Slammiversary. Let me know what you think about the show in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe and leave a like. Any support that I can get is appreciated. Hopefully we can get this channel going and get some more reviews and whatnot to you guys as well. So again, thank you guys for checking out the channel, taking the time to stop by, and I hope you have a great day.